Yes, we are. We're here. Happy, what is it, Sunday?
Sunday.
Hey, Juniper. You on the TV now? You on the TV now? Hi. Say hi to all your fans. Look at that. Oh, I like her rabbit shirt.
She actually waved like that. You waving to all your fans, huh? Yeah. I wonder how much I wonder sometimes how much she understands. Actually, sometimes it seems like she understands a lot more than I think she does.
Yeah, no, I think about that like with humans in general. How much our intuition. That's one of Paul's points is our intellect kind of lags behind our intuition or larger sense of perception. So who
Yep.
knows? I've always heard babies were super smart, like genius, and then their brains shrink afterwards, and they become normal, ordinary humans.
Yeah, it's just like I think their brains are more capable than their bodies are, so they're kind of stuck because they can understand some things, but they can't really do much to like articulate it or talk about it because their bodies don't
Oh,
do what they
she's
want.
already. I can hear the vowels and syllables starting.
Oh yeah,
The
I mean
proto
she definitely
language.
says some things. She definitely says I eat like whenever she wants to eat something. She picks
I
if
eat.
some yeah I eat.
I eat.
She says if something's good. She says it's good.
It's like a question and also like a statement. I
I eat. Yeah, she does. She
Yeah.
says she tries to say I love you sometimes. She's getting tired. It's better now.
And you seem like you're feeling better.
I mean I'm in less pain, but also more because I'm out of pain pills. So
Oh,
like it's getting better, but
or
like
you mask it very well. I wouldn't even know you had broken ribs.
I'm good at masking it from years of the back pain and stuff like that. So I don't show it very a lot, but which is probably like a detriment to myself whenever I'm like talking to doctors stuff like that. I think the doctors think a lot of times that I'm like they don't think that my demeanor matches my what I say, but I don't know. I just like I was just raised. I was still raised like, even though my dad's not like a super like alpha manly man, but like I still was raised with like that kind of mentality of like that you don't like you try to like as a man you kind of suck it up. You rub some dirt on it kind of thing. You don't let it show kind of thing. I still have some of that stoicism like in built in from all those years, just like growing up like that. But
Well, I can see the value in some of that. But I
yeah, I
guess it
mean
could
there's
interfere
value.
when you have to communicate something really important emotionally.
Yeah, it is. It can. It has its value, and it has like it can have detrimental effects too. But it's okay. It's just the way it is. Yeah. I haven't shaved in a couple of days because I've just been sleeping. Yeah,
It looks sunny over there. It's sunny here too.
yeah. It's cold but sunny at the same time. Like I think the temperature is like in low 70s, but it's sunny though. It always is at this time of day. Like anywhere between 3 and 4, this is what's when the sun is like right at this window. So, and no matter what I do, I can't seem to block it completely. I don't have a dark enough curtain for it. So
It snowed in Colorado.
Oh, that's right. Someone said that it will have snow over the Rockies going back. There wasn't
Yep.
much snow coming. I'll be in Dallas again on Tuesday, so I will wave at y'all and send you good energy.
okay, are you just like I guess it would be a quick one this time?
Like another 3 hours or so. If the plane
Okay.
doesn't get delayed, my friend flew from Seattle the day after I did to Dallas to take one of those smaller planes to Louisiana, and they boarded them, they got them up in the air, and then they turned them around and landed them, and he had to stay overnight at the airport because the weather was so bad.
Wow.
Oh, that would.
I've never had that happen before.
Yeah, me neither.
I've got been delayed on a plane before.
On the
Like
oh,
you were sitting on the tarmac.
Yeah,
Let
but
me check the
I've
weather.
never. I think I've got had a short delay like getting on a flight, and I've got a short delay like on the tarmac. But I've never had that before.
They have it sunny with no clouds, Monday and Tuesday. So hopefully it'll stay that way. Let me check my end. Yeah, I'm. It's gonna be weird getting back to Washington State.
I'm sure.
It looks good on this end too. So hopefully there won't be any weather issue, at least.
I'm just like I'm kind of like, oh, I guess I shouldn't be, but I feel surprised by like how worn out this has made me, like how much more worn out that I've been these last few days than I even have been normally from the vertigo and stuff like that. I am so
Just from the
freaking
wind.
tired just from.
I
Yeah,
know
just
you
from,
haven't been doing Discord or movies or anything.
I watched I put on the other night. I put on Across the Spider Verse to see if anybody wanted to watch that, but nobody showed up for
My son must be broken. Why would we be sleeping at 3 in the afternoon? Although we went to lunch at this place and I was feeling very nappy afterwards. And then I had insomnia last night, so I was watching Machine stream. I wanted to show this little clip he made of me. I'm gonna mute her for just a second.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to show this little clip. I got featured on Machine's show, and I made a clip of it. There's more, but this is the part I thought was very cute, I guess.
Yeah, the only person who's legitimately allowed to just stay in the chat and criticize this panel, although I have been letting it happen all night, is Gen X Jeff. Gen X Jeff can be as negative as he wants to. I feel like before God created Adam, he created Gen X Jeff, and he just asked him, like, what do you think of this beautiful creation? And Gen X Jeff went, is this it? Is this all there is? I'm gonna go do something over there. Just leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the only
Yeah, he knows me so well. Now I was because people were bringing up Tommy was on the show. Of course, it was the Tommy show for like half the night, and people were making the same critiques we've been making, and I kept reinforcing them in the chat over and over. And I think it was good. I told him myself not saying anything I haven't said to your face. So. Oh, and I got some comment on when I went on PF Ewing's. Some guy commented about my appearance on there, saying I get my talking points from Fox News or something, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I invited him. I clarified for him, and I invited him to come on and discuss anytime he wanted if he has questions about my position, because it's not from Fox News. I don't even watch it. It's from Wikipedia and Encyclopedia Britannica and all the other historical sources.
Yeah,
my son is broken, and clearly your clock is broken.
Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about. I guess
I think maybe because the world revolves around him, and it confuses him.
So. Like it's 3 p.m. where I am, Joshua. So I don't know. You said yourself.
If you can't get back to sleep, you could always come on and have your coffee. We could put you to sleep, maybe.
Oh, I forgot we ripped this.
Other than, I had this thing I wanted to read too about. I'll just read it. I think people will understand the implications of it. I'm trying to figure out who the author actually is, because it was part of a larger post that cited several research papers. So I don't really know who to attribute it to. So I'm just going to read it, and forgive me. And if you're the author and you're out there and you happen to be listening and you want credit, please let me know and I'll give it to you. Here we go. Since we are biologically hardwired for social interaction, it would be pointless to search for the true self outside of society in solitude. It is necessary to resolve conflicts within oneself by integrating into society and finding a way of living where we can contribute to the improvement of ourselves and our surroundings to the best of our ability. To become more functional, satisfied, and mentally healthier, we must realize that we are inherently social beings who cannot meaningfully exist without our involvement in society. Personally meaningful involvement in society is, therefore, essential for the survival of the individual and the individual's mental health. And it made me think of the power of community and also what Ron talks about how we evolved evolutionarily to exist in communities. Fix your brain. Dude, you know you're halfway around the world, and our time's not going to be the same as yours. I got stuck with 20 hours of psych reading. Oh, did you get paid for it? If you got paid for it, it's not really getting stuck. It's a voluntary exchange of your time for their dollars. Or what do they have in Vietnam? I don't know what communist money is. Oh, let me put my banner on. Sometimes that draws the boys to my yard.
Anyway, yeah. So Matt had the question.
Were you on a stream? Is this from a stream? Some ass hate asked a question that I couldn't answer. What was the question? That you needed 20 hours of psych research to answer. I could tell you. I had a question that kind of came up on TML stream last night that had me thinking, like, what is the difference between emotional and spiritual? How do you know when something's spiritual or when it's just emotion?
I guess it depends if you believe in the spiritual or not.
I want to. I mean, I try to be spiritual. I try to think of myself as spiritual, but I have no idea what that means, or if it's not just like a deeper level of just
the problem with the
emotion.
spiritual is that, like, it by definition, like by its definition, like it cannot be scientifically like proven. It's almost like by its definition, it's something that can't be scientifically like shown or
There's a
discovered.
lot of things that can't be scientific, like don't fall under the purview of science that I still experience or believe in. So that's not necessarily a disqualifier. But like I understand physical, like I know what physical sensation and what parts of my being are physical. I know what emotional is. I can tell what's thinking, what's thought and cognitive versus what's emotional. But I don't know what part of me is spiritual or what experiences are spiritual as contrasted with any of those other, like physical, emotional, or mental. Spiritual is a description for something that cannot be explained.
Yeah.
It seems more specific than that, though, because there's lots of things that can't be explained that I wouldn't necessarily.
I mean, it's like
say
something you
follow
feel,
spiritual.
but it's not necessarily, you don't feel it emotionally. It's like
Right. That's what I'm trying to find,
feeling.
that difference.
Yeah.
Like
It's
where do
something
you
that- it's
feel
something
it? Or
that
what
can-
is the feeling? Even saying the word feeling.
Right, because like I mean, it's more like, because it's something in between an emotional feeling and a physical sensation. It's something in between those two things. Like it's literally it rests right in between.
Because you like it's hard to even find the line that demarcates emotion from physical sensation too. Like emotions are physical. We experience them physiologically. Or I do.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they definitely, there's definitely a physiochemical response in the brain.
But I know like I know that just between hunger and anger, stuff like that. Like one is a feeling, an emotion, one is a physiological response.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what was the question that you had to research? I was just throwing that when they were waiting on you to type viewers. Hank says if my clock is wrong, I don't want it to be right. Oh, Hank did a really nice job with Tommy last night, but he out Tommy. He kept talking over Tommy. And
Yeah,
then not only did he keep talking over Tommy, he had Tommy praising him and defending him afterwards. And like Tommy had to be rescued in White Knight. He perceived that people were attacking Hank for being on the spectrum. So he like circled around Hank and tried to be his champion, even after Hank was trolling him. Are men natural leaders? Well, the first thing I'm going to say, it depends on what you mean by leadership. It depends on what you mean by natural. And in this day and age, I guess it depends on what you mean by men. I think there are some men I wouldn't follow, and there are others that I just instinctively follow.
I think
I've even had women in the past that I like. The question doesn't rule out some women being leaders. So I think leadership is its own axis.
Well,
And it may be correlated with one gender or another, but I don't think gender itself determines.
Wouldn't it be more accurate to ask like whether or not leadership is a masculine characteristic?
I mean, nobody listens to me. I'm a man, and I'm not a natural leader. So I think it's a subset of men and a subset of women. Answer is both. So it took you 20 pages of research to know that. I'm not judging, but damn, dude.
I've always been a good leader in general, but I don't know. I've never attributed that to my masculinity, so I don't know.
And leadership is like, it's not a constant either. Like sometimes some people will lead well in some areas and I won't follow them in other areas. And sometimes I'm able to lead in some areas and people don't pay attention to the thing I say in others. 20 hours. Yeah. Yeah, we know. That's well, it's a good question, and I'm glad that you got something out of the research. Here's our friend Hank Oflamio, aka Hank Oflamio.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that real quick. I need the headline because that was Paul's show.
Paul Enslaved?
Yeah, Paul Enslaved. He likes to play with the headline, so I made an addendum to his headline so people could address me by the right name. He changed me to my name to Franco Flamo for a bit.
Okay, hang on. So now Joshua and I finally have something to argue about. All of which are learned. So do you think leadership can be taught to anyone? I don't think so. I think there's natural aptitude for it that has to be there, or some kind of capacity for it that can be developed. I don't think everybody's capable of learning it. And I think that there's this like natural talent for leadership that's innate in some people that they don't. It's not an acquired skill.
I think it can be taught to a degree.
Your research was wrong. You wasted your 20 hours.
I think it can be taught to a degree, but yeah, after a certain point, it can't be. There's
a monkey can be taught some things, but not all things, and not all monkeys.
Right.
Same with humans, by the way.
I have some natural talent for leading, but I don't want to use it to man because I don't like dealing with people that much. I don't like it.
Well, what do you like? Because you're around people a lot on the street.
Yeah, but they're just I don't care about their stupid dumb bullshit.
Yeah, well, I don't particularly care about it either.
Yeah, they don't.
If I
remember it. They don't remember anything.
Parts of people, I would love it.
Yeah, just too many people don't do their part, and a small subset of them blame you for it, and that's just very annoying. I don't want to. I like to keep myself away from that situation as much as possible.
Oh, we have Mike with us too. Welcome. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man?
I saw you on Jim. Well, the machine restreamed the Jim Bob thing. All of the characteristics are based, which I don't understand what based on society means.
Yeah, me neither.
Are they you mean like are they intersubjectively emergent? Because I guess leadership is a social quality. You don't need to lead yourself if you're on a desert island.
Yes, and just I agree. There's intersubjectively emergent things. Yes, and I would put leadership as an
Charisma
innate
can't be
class.
taught because I would have it by now if it could. Charisma is definitely an innate natural trait.
I just learned the other day that the slang term "riz" means charisma. So
Oh, I didn't make that connection either.
Let me double check.
yeah,
Yeah, I know it has
you
another meaning. Let me check Urban Dictionary right now.
sure about that? I'm pretty confident that's. I mean, it actually make every time I've heard it been used. That's what I'm pretty sure that's the way it's been used. Is riz is just like it's just like the middle part of the word charisma. So
You learn to hate that word.
I think of taught as something active. One human actively teach. If it's learned passively through the environment, I don't consider that taught. Although it could be a form of learning, but I don't consider it teaching.
You very quickly learn if you're a school teacher dealing with Gen Alpha kids on a regular basis. You learn to despise the word Riz and the Rizzler and all the other silly little Riz words they come
What
up
are some other words?
Okay, that checks out. The definition checks out.
Oh boy, I'm trying to remember. They anything that sounds like Riz, they just replace it with Riz. So the Riddler becomes the Rizzler,
Oh god!
and
Is that the TikTok generation, or is
Yes.
it beyond TikTok?
it's a meme. It's a meme thing. There's some sort of meme song that's out there right now that uses riz really prominently, and
I'm glad
it's
about it.
there's a YouTuber I watch, Semeto Media. He does his meme reviews and stuff like that, and he just kind of like talks about what memes.
Wait,
are
people
like,
review memes.
Yeah,
How much can you say about a meme?
the Wizard of Oz. That's another one.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be annoying too. I'm gonna bring back like old words that were discontinued, like
Yeah,
no,
you see how you put taught in quotes? That's my point.
yeah. So I'm bringing back the word nocent. That means guilty.
Next time you have 20 hours of research to do, just come talk to me.
Yeah, opposite of innocent. So I'm gonna bring that word back. So like for example, Joshua is nocent of doing shoddy research.
He's what?
He's nocent of doing shoddy research. Nocent
Nocent?
is yes, opposite of innocent.
No.
Yeah.
You'll make my brain hurt
Yep.
from cringe. It's cringing
Yep.
so hard it's hurting.
Yep.
Trad, what's up with you?
Well, I'm still a bit. I've been ruminating on last night.
The
and
Jim Bob
all
thing?
Yes.
Oh God!
I don't know. It's just the whole thing is very fascinating. Like, I still don't understand what on earth would possess a guy, well, other than maybe the devil, to continue week after week punching down at little nobody channels. A married man in his 40s has nothing better to do on a Saturday night but start drama and incessantly try to keep the fires of drama going. Like I feel like he reminds me of like a girl I dated when I was in middle school.
But a lot of people do. I mean, Matt Dillahunty does it with the stupid Collins show. So a lot of people have that. If you're on top of the pyramid, right? Not they'll only play the only direction of punches down.
I mean, he could have just gone on the panel and ended it.
Yeah, he could have gone on a panel, but that was
The reason
too
was
rational.
that TCPS was hiding behind a white dot, which showed his face.
Yeah, if he went on a panel, he could have got destroyed. So he didn't want to do that because he knows his argument's pretty.
But he goes
weak.
on TikTok all
Well,
the time.
you notice though that like I mean, I have to say, I've heard a lot of excuses for people to not show up for a debate or a discussion. I have to say that was a first. I'm not going to show up on this guy's panel because his avatar is just a white. Like that was literally his argument.
Oh no, an egg avatar. That's intimidating, isn't it?
Or that's what you call it, eh?
Yeah, it's a Twitter reference because if you don't use an avatar, he gave you an egg.
Oh.
I don't know. It's just it's very, which
Well,
the thing is that this whole Jim Bob thing could have blown over if he had just like ignored myself or the machine lies, but he doesn't. He's very like codependent in a bizarre
y'all
sort.
all are. Y'all are all coded. That whole streaming universe. I even find myself getting sucked into it, like spending hours on streams that I have no desire. I would never hang out with any of those people in real life.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the problem. That's one of the ways that the machine lies, isn't it? Is that it gets us all to waste our collective Saturday nights doing things that are actually not really mutually productive for anyone.
Well, would Jim Bob, because he takes callers on his panels too, would he let you go on his one day if you dropped in?
Probably not anymore. Not after all the stuff that's happened. Not after my avatar became this little white circle.
Oh, he'd make you have he'd make you cam up.
And I'll tell you what, I might get invited on if I change my. Oh, you know what? If I call myself Jay Dyer, if I create a fake account that says Jay Dyer, it'll probably let me on.
I'm a better. Just get an avatar that looks interesting. Probably.
Well,
a
he
lizard
used to
person.
have some like that. The white dots.
I don't even know. I don't even know how to change your avatar. Change the avatar.
I had to. There's some setting in StreamYard that lets you do it. But
Yeah. So yeah, you do it in StreamYard, or you can feed it from the Google one. It's pretty easy.
Well, you have one.
Yes.
It just pulls yours from Google. What is that?
Yeah.
A frog? A toad king?
A lizard.
I said
Lizard
my
person
lizard
from
king.
Westnall.
Oh, okay. Lizard king. I am the lizard king.
Mine doesn't work all the time. Sometimes when I turn my camera off, it's just the white dot thing, and I don't know why.
Yeah, mine too. It's probably with the renderer.
I'm auditory anyway. I don't care. As long as I can hear people's voice, I'm fine.
Oh, Joshua Jones says like height isn't a leadership characteristic. The wire or all the presence of the United States over 6 feet. Come on, Josh, get with the
But
program.
that's just a correlation. And probably
They all
Yeah,
are.
this happenstance was random, even though.
Because I know
That's
people with
plausible.
short fat man syndrome that are in positions of leadership too.
Yeah, but not the president of the United States.
Napoleon
But somehow,
complex drives them.
it just happened to be totally, completely random.
And leadership is not just one thing either.
Yeah.
Like it's a constellation of characteristics, and it's different for different types of different contexts and situations. It's very fluid, I think. It's a dynamic concept.
Why pretend to be Jay Dyer rather than just make up just another character and give it a person avatar that you got from Google or something to at least have a face? Then there's really nothing to complain about.
Yeah, well, I don't
and you
think
know what?
you can, I don't think
Go
you can-
woke. Get some kind of a furry avatar. That'll rush you on. That'll put you first in line.
Honestly, probably so. If I just like come in like some total drama llama, I'm sure that they'd love me then.
Yeah, if we get a Rainbow Dash, they'll put you first in line because they think they'll easily destroy you.
A Rainbow
No.
Dash.
Yeah, if we get make your avatar Rainbow Dash, they'll assume that you are not only a crazy furry, but you're high on something. They'll be easily be able to destroy you. Then you reveal the trap.
Are you talking about the pony?
Yes, the pony. They'll put you first in line.
My wife used to have a troll Twitter account called Troller Bear. That was pretty funny.
I never really had troll account. I troll under my name, like under
Well,
my,
it wasn't
main
trolling like
I
people troll today.
I wanted people to know who it was.
Yeah, me too.
I got trolled a lot. When I was on gay.com, somebody made a profile. They duplicated my profile, same screen name and everything. And for the photo, they put a picture of me and it had a bullseye photoshopped on it. And the caption said, "Shoot here." I said, "That's so ugly. That's so hateful."
That's silly.
People are.
But yeah, I did. I
Because
did.
not like it's all parasocial. Like none of these people that have all this drama actually know each other or hang out in
Yeah.
person. It's all
Well, that was
Not
mediated.
one of
that
the points
it's
that I
not that I
made
wouldn't want
last
to.
night.
No, it's not that I wouldn't want to. It's just they live too far away from me.
Well, no, well, that's one of the points that I made last night is that if you go and talk to people in the real world, then you find out that none of them behave in any way the way that these online weirdos do. It's like the real world versus the world that you see online. It's two poles apart, and it took me to really start trying to get into these online communities to realize that. I'm like, wow, these people. The reason why these people are online is because they have zero social skills and they wouldn't be able to,
There are
make
a lot
any
of
sort of
spurs.
connections in the real world.
Oh, this well, I have a different interpretation because these people act just like my coworkers at the warehouse. So
Damn.
so
I
that's why I
got a
know.
really lousy warehouse. Then if they're a bunch of gym
Yeah, I
bums,
would. I could not
damn
have
bad.
half of these people as coworkers. Some of them
No.
I would love to.
So
I would be
I
proud
managed to deal with this for 5 years, and this is actually one of the better places I work because at the dang managed service provider company, they're worse. They're dumber. They're crazier than these internet people. So I must
Joshua.
have had a bunch of shit jobs. So I know what I'm dealing with.
Joshua, they don't teach leadership. I bet they teach specific. Like if you looked at the manual, it's broken down into specific.
Yeah, they teach management, not leadership.
Communication. I don't know what else.
Is he talking about Dungeons and Dragons?
No, DOD, Department
Department
of Defense.
Department of Defense,
the
yes.
other, the other wargaming hobby.
Yeah.
But charisma. I don't think you could teach things like charisma and.
Yeah, that's part of looks. You can't teach that.
Well, it's more personality. Like I know ugly people that are charismatic.
Yeah, there's lots of
Look at
there's
some of
lots of
these
charismatic
celebrities.
people that aren't very
How do you
aren't really
explain that?
attractive.
Don't tell that to
They don't. Yes, but
black killers.
they call it leadership. That's the umbrella title. But when you look at what they actually teach, it's not going to be leadership. It's going to be specific things. Show me the manual. Give me the table of contents or something. In fact, let me try to look it up. How do you teach charisma?
I guess you can throw them on stage.
That's like teaching looks. It's like teaching beauty.
Yeah, really.
I mean, they do have beauty school, but it's to enhance. Maybe they can enhance your natural charisma if you have it, but you have to bring something to them to enhance. Yeah,
Well, this is the
OCS
problem with all
or
these,
whatever, just any example.
These online coaches, these people, these I guess these manosphere guys, they all have this claim that they just can, if you just come at them, no matter what a weird incel, whatever you are, you could just go through their program and all of a sudden you'll be transformed into this amazing guy by the end of, and it just seems like it's just total grift.
Yeah,
like
it's
everything
a
else
scam.
online, actually.
It's not everything's online to scam, but this one is. It's the red pill coach stuff.
Oh my
that's a
God,
scam.
I'm embarrassed for I just found it's the Commander Leadership Manual. I'm going to share a little screenshot of it.
Copy.
Okay, good. He's coming on. Let me share this before he starts hollering. Leadership and character. So character, which I don't think you can teach character either, but leadership is influence, and there's an acronym: integrity, nurturing, faith, listening, understanding, enlarging, navigating, connecting, empowering. Some of those are too abstract to teach. You'd have to break them down into specifics, but this is kind of corny for military manual. It makes me, I don't know. I want something more from the military. Here he is, the man himself. Explain it to us.
Okay, so what it is it might seem corny to you with the problem of...
Well, the little acronym did.
Yeah. So let's start with something simple, like the concept of charisma, right? Being able to basically appeal to a person, to convince that person to follow you.
That you can do that with it. Doesn't. I separate
there-
charisma from that
that-
because there are other ways to accomplish that.
There's a shit ton, like manipulation. That would be one way. So this is the problem: is society wants everything to be kind of like, well, leadership is this such a high goal, when the reality is most of it's mostly a ton of bullshit. And yes, a monkey can be taught.
Not leadership, not charisma, not character.
A monkey can teach.
I mean, you can barely teach humans that.
A monkey can teach a person or a group of people to go run into a firing line.
Yeah, I mean,
Happens
is that what
all
you're
the
calling
time.
leadership?
That's exactly what infantry training
Is
is.
that what you're calling leadership, like the bellwether?
It's convincing a man to run toward danger and ultimately
Okay, then
toward
we're
his
just
death.
using different concepts of leadership. I guess
Yes,
that-
because
I-
society wants leadership to be this all-encompassing thing. It's not. The same concept of, and I wrote it down there, it's real specific. It's the question is leadership or lead what? You've got like leading a family is not the same as leading a platoon. Different characteristics needed
Yeah, I
in
said
different
that.
positions.
I said it's
Right. So
It's
here's the
fluid.
question: is a father a leader of a household, or is that not a leader? Is a platoon leader of a platoon, is that not a leader?
Can you teach fatherhood?
Yes, they can all be taught.
But true leadership is if it's actually followed by the people.
Yes, they can all be taught.
So that's the true test of leadership.
Well, they can all be taught.
And so who's going to teach them?
Specific things can be taught, like you said, running into a burning building. That's a very specific thing.
So who teaches the skills?
But we're just going to get into semantics.
Well, then it's just going to be whoever's the teacher. It depends. Are we talking about social stuff? Like, let's just say like fatherhood, right? Who teaches that? Generally going to be another father.
Yeah, and how many fathers are out there teaching it, and how successful is their teaching? How many sons?
Probably, well, currently, roughly about 49% of U.S. population.
Fathers are?
Roughly. Yeah,
Good
they're
fathers
usually.
or just fathers.
Well, now good fathers,
49%
that's
of
going to be a
males,
different story.
Because I didn't learn leadership from fathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I learned from my father was how to not be a father.
See, there you go. It's negative education.
See, now you're just calling it good or bad. I don't know.
No. I mean, I don't see how people just. I don't see how lousy fathers that don't do a very good job of being fathers are actually equipping the next generation to be fathers.
They're not.
In fact, if anything,
That's
they're
why we have a
doing the
crisis
opposite.
of
They're
masculinity.
prolonging the extent to which our society doesn't actually internalize valuable lessons about leadership.
I mean, I would go so far as to say the problem's like even bigger than fathers. Like people just aren't being taught how to critical think, but like a lot of things within our society. Just like we're losing the idea of teaching younger people the social skills necessary to live in society, just broadly.
Yeah, well, I
including
mean, this
fatherhood.
is a problem across the board because essentially what's going on is that if you look at it, human beings didn't have to just figure out throughout most of history how to do things on their own because they were enmeshed in these like larger networks, but now we're not, and we're not adjusting very well to this situation anymore. So now
Well, we
you
are
have-
in these larger networks. They're just not the kinds of networks that are good for teaching those kinds
I
of
like
skills.
my network.
Yeah, I mean, this is how you
No,
end
I
up
mean,
with like
there's nothing-
competent parenting.
There's nothing inherently wrong with the idea of like this sort of, I guess, like globalization of network. The problem is that we globalized sort of society and then didn't adjust how we teach social roles.
And society itself
changed
It's
faster than
changing.
we did. Basically, is
Rules
what
are
happened.
changing.
Like we didn't ourselves, we as humans did not change as fast as
Right.
the world
Oh
around
yeah,
us.
and that's
And now we
true.
don't have. We're not adjusted to our environment anymore.
Yeah,
basically.
the lag is getting larger and larger
Yeah.
as the technology and the forms of society develop. change. Hang on, somebody's knocking on the door. I gotta go see about this. Continue talking.
Who's
I
there?
don't really.
How's everybody doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself? I just got back from going out with my girlfriend and her sister, and it was a fun time. We just walked around and ate desserts.
Sounds
It's very
good.
cold today.
Where you live on the East Coast or something like that, right?
No, I live in the West Coast. I live in Seattle.
Oh,
I'm from the South, but yeah. So it's like, normal weather here is like impossibly cold for me.
right. No, I get that. It's pretty cool here in Texas right now. So.
So,
I'm just so you guys know, like if you see if I'm on camera and like I'm making like these like angry looking faces, just so I broke a rib and so I'm in a little pain. So
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
oh, it's okay. I'm just saying, but if you see me on camera and my face is making like this mean face, it's not because I'm not mad at anybody. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure it's clear.
You got some
I'm
broken
not mad
bones.
I'm just not mad at anybody on stream. I'm just making this face because I'm like wincing in
That's
pain.
fair.
So
Damn,
that's why
I
I'm.
kind of like the mean face.
And
Prefer
if
that,
I'm on
though.
camera making mean face, it means I'm angry at someone on a panel or someone else.
Also,
Right.
when Jeff gets, he is back. I was actually going to say, I did find the what I was talking about the last stream, the voter suppression law. It was actually North Carolina. I can link the Reuters article on it for
Cool.
later. But yeah, I did find what I was talking about.
For that voter ID thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Oh, you
Yeah.
just put in the link. Okay, I'll take a look.
Yeah. It's not like super important, but I just wanted to let you know that I did actually do my little bit of homework that I said I would do.
See, it can be taught, I guess, Josh.
Well, told you,
It's like
everything's taught. Well, almost everything.
As someone who used to teach, I know the limitations of
As I say,
Yeah, there's
everything
limitations.
isn't
I train
taught.
now.
What? Sorry, that's a weird. What do you mean everything is taught?
Well, almost everything is taught.
I'm not even sure that's correct.
He believes leadership can be taught because they have leadership academies and trainings. And I said you can't teach stuff like charisma and character and
well, yeah, I mean, well, there's
personality and
a
beauty.
certain like
They're
genetic
intangibles.
component to something.
It's more like
that.
experiential. Yeah, you can teach
So-
quote unquote
so-
by like setting up systems by which people can
it-
experience things.
Right. If it's experiential, who's teaching the experience? What interaction? It's taught. It's taught by somebody. Could be taught by a random person. Could be taught by a group of acquaintances. Can be taught by anybody. A monkey.
So you understand that though that there's certain people and there's a certain percentage of the population that comes into the world with what's called an inhibition gene, which means that for genetic reasons that they don't really have any control over, they're going to lag majorly behind when it comes to things like developing charisma, for instance.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's a gene so much as like you're just describing some forms of neurodivergence.
Well, I mean, even though something like autism is a heavy component of heritability, something in the domain of like 80 to 90% of it is through like certain family lines.
Is there any percentage of autism that isn't hereditary?
There's not any percentage. I would say that autism is purely genetic in whether it exists or not, but I guess you could say that like there are environmental components that can determine the severity. Like you can have more severe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say the opposite. It's purely social. They can't find a
It's
gene.
not social. It's genetic, and then there's epigenetics.
They can't find a gene.
That doesn't mean it's social. They do have. They've identified as much as up to 1,000 genes that they believe are involved in autism. It's not just one gene. It's a combination of multiple genetic factors. That's why we all probably have some little combination of it.
Yeah, and that's actually why in a lot of medical cases they'll ask you about your family medical history, and that's incredibly important when you're talking about things like autism, because it's the correlation is direct, you know.
The last time I got tested, they didn't ask about my family history.
I mean, sure, but I'm not saying that like the way we treat autism in the medical community is like perfect or even like good. There's definitely problems, but like we do know that that autism's pretty
And there
definitive.
are competing
They do know
models
they
of
don't care
autism too. The
because it
medical
doesn't.
paradigm is only one model.
They know and don't care because they administered it like it's a personality test plus an IQ test. So
Oh yeah. No, I mean I'm with you there. I think like the way the medical community, at least in America, treats autism is could use significant improvement. But that doesn't mean that
Yes,
it's
and
not
no
genetic.
ABA.
Oh yeah, oh god, fucking ABA.
yeah, fucking ABA.
I'm reading this, or I'm skimming this thing you sent.
Yeah.
And it does say that Justice Roberts wrote a two-page statement indicating that the move should not be interpreted as saying anything about the merits of the statute.
Yes.
Well, that was easy.
I mean, that is Justice Roberts' opinion. However, the article, if you find wherever, hang on, let me find the exact the appeals court.
To catch everyone else up, it was the North Carolina voter ID law, and Chris and I were arguing that anybody can get an ID, and for some reason people have this idea that black people, Hispanic people, it's some kind of barrier to.
Well,
that's ridiculous.
If you read the article, what it says is, so the first section is the appeals court found that the law's provisions, quote, target African Americans with almost surgical precision, end quote, and quote, impose cures for problems that do not exist, quote, concluding that the Republican-led legislator enacted it, quote, with discriminatory intent. And it goes further. Here we go. The North Carolina law required that certain forms of government-issued photo identification cards be presented by voters, for example, allowing driver's license, passports, and military identification cards, but not public assistance cards used disproportionately by minorities. Other provisions included cutting early voting days and ending same-day voter registration. The Supreme Court could yes be asked. Okay, that's a different thing. Where is it?
What were these other forms of ID?
Things like public assistance,
which don't have photos of them,
and school IDs, like university IDs. They wouldn't allow those as well. There's a number of things. The appeals court. Again, I'm gonna.
Well, how is that discriminatory? Because there's probably less minorities at universities.
You would have to ask the appeals court, because what I'm just repeating what the appeals court said, which was they found that the law's provisions, quote, target African Americans with almost surgical precision and impose cures for
specifics.
I mean, I can find. I'll look for, I guess, the actual court case to find. This was just like I found the Reuters article where I had learned about it, but I'll later on go and actually find the actual court case.
Yeah, I'd be kind of curious as to what the Carolinas was actually prescribing as a requirement for identification to vote.
Oh, it says in the article, it says that the North Carolina law required that certain forms of government issued photo identification cards be presented by voters, for example, allowing driver's license, passports, and military ID cards, but not public assistance cards used disproportionately by minorities. Other provisions including cutting early voting days, ending state. I mean, we can at least agree that like the cutting early voting days and removing same-day voter registration is probably unreasonably restrictive, right?
Well, that's from the ID, but that would affect everybody equally. I don't know that would target minority specific. How would that just affect minorities?
So some of this has to do with socioeconomics. For instance, especially in places like North Carolina, African Americans tend to disproportionately work jobs that do not allow them, or it makes it more difficult for them to take off work to vote. This is a case with a lot of different groups. However, considering
what jobs are black people working that white people aren't? They're not
No.
letting them
Hang
off
on.
the book.
Hang on. No. That's not okay. It's not that it's not that the law isn't targeting white people. It is that what the appeals court found was that the law specifically the thing, all of the provisions of it, disproportionately negatively affected African Americans in North Carolina for a variety of reasons. There's a variety of like socioeconomic reasons.
So how do you extrapolate intent from that? It's like if it's for this variety of reasons, that doesn't seem like surgical precision.
To my
Yeah.
understanding, the reason why is that the court looked into the process of how the law was written and found that in that they discovered like some form of intent. I haven't gone in and read the actual transcript of the court case. However, I broadly trust Reuters.
That's
So-
what I would be curious about, is that whatever the actual intent they found. Because
Actually,
I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I just disagree. Or I don't have enough to
that's fair.
assume intent.
I will go and find the court case after this and see if I can.
I mean, I would like to see the what is the voting holiday, or
I would say that,
Yeah, no,
and I'm not somebody like, I actually don't even really care. I think that voting is kind of silly personally, but to play devil's advocate for a moment, I would say that what is true, and this is where Lib has a point, is that if you look at the history of how of the South in particular, there has been since the 60s, since the Voting Rights Act, a fairly consistent pattern where a lot of white legislators will try to make it harder for black people to vote. And this has been, there've been multiple, I mean, really ever since 1965, there have been case after case of lawsuits that have been filed in these states like Mississippi, Alabama. And this is almost like a constant occurrence where like there's always like some legislators that are passing laws that are targeting these minority communities, and then they get challenged in court, and then they have to get overturned, and then they come back, and then it's just a process that just goes on pretty much now for the last like almost 60 years.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, there is like I guess a light at the end of the tunnel, which is that in the case of like some of these laws, like the North Carolina law, while yes, it was passed by the legislature, it was overturned and like they got rid of it because they were like, yo, that feels like a Jim Crow era voter suppression law. Don't do that, guys. And it's good, you know, if we can get more of that, you know, that'd be good. Move away from it.
feels like doesn't seem like a very rigorous standard. But
I'm
there's probably less of that
being-
in 2023 than in the 60s and even 70s.
Oh yeah, no. Objectively, there is less of that. At least it's less explicit. We can at least agree that it's usually far less explicit. We can at least agree that the Jim Crow stuff was bad, right? Like,
Yeah.
I could probably agree
okay,
with that.
good. All right. Just wanted to make sure we wouldn't have to argue about that. I don't want to have to argue that Jim Crow's bad.
No, I mean, like,
Ooh.
Are you going to
Might
be the
have-
contrarian? Of course.
I'm
I'm sorry. What? Actually, you know
Yeah,
what? I'm just gonna shut the fuck up.
It's not going to be a fast yes on my end. There's going to be a few things I would contest, but then again,
What?
I would make the same. I'd make the
Do you
same
want to
claims
be
about.
under it? Do you want to
Yeah,
be
I'd
under
make-
Jim Crow personally, Josh?
I'd make the same claims about women too. They ought not have the right to vote. Repeal the
You want to be
19th.
emperor of the universe, Josh? Should you be the only voter?
Sure, Josh. That's fine. You are allowed to have stupid opinions.
He is our resident misogynist, but he's
I mean,
quite
for what
open
it's
about it.
for what it's worth, I also hate women. So
Well, I don't hate women. I just don't believe that they're.
yeah, you hate. Look, just admit it. All right, we're a bunch of white people and Hank.
and Hank.
Oh, no.
I am white. I'm Cajun. I'm Louisiana American.
Oh yeah, you are.
No. It's got nothing to do with race.
So from Spain, but
I'm not country club white. I would never be let in.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. God, country club white people are. They exist.
I mean, I was raised poor. I identify with all poor people. So like most of my friends growing up have been most of my I've had just as many black friends as I've had white friends. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm from Memphis, so like yeah, like fucking half the population there's non-white. So
Well, in my case, like white is such a fake category anyway because it constantly changes. Like 100 years ago, my ancestors were Irish, so the white supremacists were drawing cartoons of us as a bunch of like toothless baboons.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, race is a stupid concept. Agreed. Actually, did you know that race isn't even like a thing that's used in like science anymore? They now use Kleins, I think, is what they
Yes.
refer to. Yeah.
well, because genetic clusters are extremely diverse. Race actually is it's an attempt to simplify a much more complex reality. West Africans and East Africans are totally different from each other. They're at least as different as Africans and Europeans are from each other.
Yeah. Race was invented by the state to control populations.
Basically, yeah.
you're always trying to put everyone in categories. Everyone's always being treated like a monolith. It's ridiculous.
Categories aren't a problem. The problem is imposed categories. Self-imposed categories are good and usually fine. Imposed categories is where you run into social problems.
Yeah, I would, depending on the context, I would kind of.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
kind of
some categories are useful.
yeah. I'm speaking kind of generally. Like.
But yeah, I'm against generally top down anything.
I mean, I don't know. I've known people from every single minority class that exists that I'm aware of, and not one of them fit the stereotype that the exact stereotype that they're put into in society in general. So everyone really is an individual. Even people that are kind of NPC like type people still have like very individualistic things. Like there are no monoliths that I've ever met. So.
I think humans are kind of broadly are kind of a monolith. As in, like, I think that humans a lot of times just kind of broadly have very similar experiences, and that there are very few truly, genuinely unique, fully unique experiences that people have. That any experience that you have, another human has probably had a similar one.
It's interesting that as a somebody who's marinated in the school of Boasian anthropology, I see things totally differently. I see humans as unbelievable diversity. That's
what the fuck is Boasian anthropology?
It's basically cultural anthropology under the school that was founded by a man named Franz Boas. So it sees basically, and this is really, if you look into like cultural and social anthropology today, it's basically been the dominant school now for the last 100 years. And what we do is we see basically an incredible amount of diversity in human potential, to the point where to say that something is like an absolute trait of humanity is almost impossible, because you're basically sure that you're going to find some culture somewhere that does things the opposite of what you think is the norm.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think that's. Yeah, I think I agree.
I mean, there is a bell curve. There's a median, but I think even within that, there's both. I mean, no one's going to argue there's not individual difference from human to human. Like no two brains are alike.
Yeah, I do think humans, though, broadly have more in common with each other than different.
I don't know.
Yes, I think it's both.
Yeah,
I think we have differences and
yeah, there are differences
that connect us to each other. And I think the ratio just depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
What population.
I think actually more so today than ever, we have sort of like, I guess, hegemonized humanity because of like globalization and social media, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's basic sort of creating this it's creating, I think, to a lot of people, this false impression that there's just one way that humans are, but that's purely like that's the result of increasingly that's becoming the case. But that's not a good thing. That's the idea of homogenization of mankind has always been, something that
Cavalier, I
been
have not
warned
lived in a foreign country. That is true. I have lived in diverse neighborhoods, but I don't know what you're.
Nero,
I
you
have-
want to come on and finish your
Never been to a
discussion
foreign country, so.
Jesus fucking
with
Christ.
Liv?
Yeah, Nero, go ahead, just come on, man.
Oh shit,
my-
Nero's here. I didn't see him.
Have that conversation again.
We only have half an hour anyway because I have to end it.
Oh.
But he's welcome though. He knows he's welcome. He knows.
Yeah,
Can we talk about literally anything else?
What was Neuro on about? I missed it.
Oh, it was on the Discord. They had to make a whole thread of it. It was
Yeah.
quite. It raged. It involved the JQ.
Yeah. I'm kind
Oh.
of sick of the JQ, but this is what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like I don't think it ends. I think that's always. It always kind of
No,
ends up in that topic, no matter what the actual topic is. For people that believe there's a group, a secret cabal running, pulling the strings and everything.
Well,
Hey,
I know. Going back to human diversity, I think humans are way too diverse to have one little unified group puppeteering everything.
Yeah, I agree. The humans are too diverse for one group to puppeteer
yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, and for what it's worth, even though whatever, I'm a communist. I talk about like the billionaire class or whatever, and yeah, I am very much generalizing. The reality is that these people are. What was that?
That was a belt, Josh belt.
That was Josh. I think he's in the billionaire class, or he thinks he is.
He belched. He's drinking a beer or something.
I'm not in the billionaire class, but I fucking hate commies.
I mean, good for
Well,
you.
Meet Liv. Meet
Yeah.
Joshua.
I mean, from what I've seen though, Lib, I feel like you're less a commie than you let on though. I feel like you're kind of a communism because fuck you, that's why kind of thing.
Army's just a really good commie.
He's just a really good commie. I met really good commies like this. He actually red marks.
In addition, so I'm a commie, not a tanky, which is I think where part of this confusion comes in.
Yes.
I refuse to let red fascists take the word communism from us. However, it's also I do kind of use it a little bit flippantly. Ideologically, I am more of an anarchist than a communist, but that's a
like
more of a
in
semantic.
an ideal world, like where if I actually believe that human beings have the ability to be communistic, I think that would be great if we could all get along and like everyone would just fulfill their roles and everyone would be happy doing whatever they were, whatever role they fit into, and everything worked out like that. Unfortunately, it's just like there's not reality, and there's always going to be people that and for people it's and it also it's necessary for human progress to have like that sense of competition, that sense of like trying to rise above your station. Without that, we lose something that's essentially human, and like that's the reason why I turn my back on
I agree. However, I don't think the competition should revolve around like if you lose the competition, you fucking live a shit life. If you lose the competition, you shouldn't live a shit life.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but because I am one of those people that kind of lost the competition and kind of my life is kind of shit because of it. So like you think of anybody, I would be one of those people that would agree with that. But at the same time, like without stakes, there is no without the danger of actually losing something. Like it loses meaning. Like you need the stakes. It's like this really weird there's this weird kind of counterintuitive.
And now we're talking about we have to change our cultural views of competition and stakes and stuff like that. That's
Actually, that's a really interesting point that you bring up, because there's been decades of anthropological research indicating that this is not just a universal human condition to glorify competition. In fact, there's a huge number of societies in the ethnographic record especially like tribal societies that just they don't have any value attached to
Yeah.
competitive.
Oh, actually, I was about to say, arguably, what distinguishes us. Clap.
So is that a prescription of like everybody should just go back to their little tribal little huts in the forest kind of thing, separate themselves from all the different groups?
What, me?
Well, I don't know. It's
No,
like,
I mean,
that was
no.
the idea. Is that to achieve
No.
that?
I don't think we need to go back to tribal. I don't think we need to degrowth to have a better world. No.
So, what exactly would be the appeal then?
What do you mean? The appeal of
The appeal of stateless people or classless people. I'm sorry.
well, communism is, at least when I use it, it is a stateless, classless, moneyless society.
Okay. Don't want the state. Gotcha.
I'm an anarchist. Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you're talking
You would
about
be out of a job, Joshua.
technology would be the only thing that could actually create a world where that would like Star
Also-
Trek type thing. If we had
also-
replicators and we're all like suddenly there was no more need, no more lack, there was no more there was no more like lack of resources, then that in that situation I do see how such a
No, actually, but environment could do that too, because you look and you see there are places in the world that basically conform to that. There are classless societies. You look at like the Andaman Islands, they're a classless society. Well, how's that possible? It's because they have a small population density in a tropical island.
Yeah, very
chain
small,
where
very
there's-
small populations can work as communes too. Very communes can work as long as they don't get above like about 30 people or so. They work really well. But once you get above that you get above a certain threshold, and they start to fall apart. I mean, I've talked extensively with people that have lived in and run in communes like Japuza, which is like a Christian commune that used to run this music festival called Cornerstone in Illinois. And like they still exist to this day, and like they have many different things like that. And, like, but they don't ever let the population of the commune get above a certain level because it can't operate after a certain point. It has to they have to remain very small cell like structures. Anything more than that, and they start to fall apart.
I'm not going to try to sell people on the idea that this stuff is workable in the urban setting, but I don't think that the urban setting is natural or healthy for humanity either.
Also, worth noting, when I do say stateless, I do make a distinction between a state and a government. A government is a way people decide to collectively run society. A state is an organization that has a monopoly on violence. So
Yeah, it just sounds like a word salad for wanting to describe something based on a fantasy that might be in your head.
You're free to think that.
Sure. Okay. So how do you have a state without a government?
On a large scale, it's a fantasy. It really is. Show me one example.
No. Yeah, I agree. I do not think communism is achievable in any immediate or in any sense that is like our current. Like, I don't think our current society can be communist. Any society today currently could be communist. I don't think that's the case. Same thing that I think with like with anarchism, with like statelessness. I don't think that we can getting rid of the state, the concept of states is not like a one lifetime kind of deal. It's like a multi generational project of improvement. Yeah. So if anyone is trying to say that I think that we should have like a communist revolution tomorrow to get rid of the state, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's possible within our current material conditions.
Well, then, as a communist, the only thing you should be focused on in life, in my opinion, is you should be focused on trying to advance technology to the point where we could actually, get rid of the entire idea of resource resource competition. Because that was the only thing that could really usher in the utopia you're looking for.
Keeping also into context the idea that I do also want to incrementally improve society as it is now, because I think harm reduction in the immediate sense is good. Especially considering
Sure.
I don't
Harm
think
reduction is always
communism.
good.
Yeah. So like, yes, I do absolutely want technology to progress. I'm very, very much an advocate of this. It's one of the reasons why I'm incredibly anti degrowth. The whole like degrowth movement, I think, kind of attempts to sidestep the fundamental problem that we face with like scarcity. You know, I mean, I'm glad we have modern medicine. I don't want us to get rid of modern medicine to go live in tiny 20-person communes, because tiny 20-person communes sounds cool, but then when you factor in the fact that suddenly we don't have things like modern medicine, modern society to help people, a lot of people are going to die and suffer.
Well, on the other hand, though, if you have a society that completely breaks away, it would be a lot more difficult now because of all the pathogens that we've been exposed to. But theoretically, the lower, very, very low population densities and closed environments would actually lead
Well, yeah, I
to
mean,
far,
as far as
far
like
less disease.
disease, but then you also have to deal with issues of scarcity before, I guess, like if you want to talk about like ancient humans, like fucking Neolithic humans, they did live in small, very tight knit societies, um, and they had problems with sourcing food because they were just a tiny society. Their economics of scale couldn't allow them to have, and so a lot of people died then who now wouldn't die because we have things like
No, I mean the main killer thousands of years ago when we were all hunter gatherers, the main killer was just being a baby, and once you survived that, you were actually pretty well set for the rest of your life. There was far fewer pathogens out there than we're now when
unless
we
you
have,
run into a problem where your local area kind of runs out of resources when if
no,
you
that
know
well that would have been a possibility, but that is not a possibility that was very likely until the development of agriculture, because the development of agriculture
even
led
with the
to this
development of agriculture
population
you still had
explosion.
problems with food scarcity though.
Not See, what you're doing is you're simplifying what's a complex reality. So there's some truth. Like once you start getting into very, very cold environments, you start having like winter scarcities. But even then, they're actually not as severe as a lot of people just like thinking theoretically
Well, yes, but
nowadays
also
regard them as being.
we can
But
avoid winter scarcities using modern
no,
technology.
no, no,
I
but
think that's
you
good.
understand that like the point that I'm trying to make is that there's this idea. There's actually 2 points I'm trying to make. Number one is that there's this idea that well, the world would have been so rough and everything was so, but that's actually not true. That a lot of that is seeing what happened after the Neolithic Revolution, after the development of spread agriculture, which drastically increased the amount of food insecurity because it drastically increased population growth way out of proportion to the actual surplus that were being generated by agriculture. So if you look at most of the purely hunter-gatherer societies the anthropologists studied, they typically had much less of a problem with food scarcity. And in fact, if they were in tropical places like the rainforest or the Amazon or something, they would have had no problem, basically.
Oh well, yeah, I mean, you are correct in that like areas in like like tropical areas, people did not suffer nearly as much from food scarcity. However, climate related effects drastically affected Neolithic communities. Like we know that
But
is
even then, though, there's strong evidence that much of what we've observed, also the situation became worse as the agricultural societies started pushing in, and as that had effects on the climate. So we have like evidence from radiocarbon dating that a lot of societies that are hunter-gatherer societies, even outside of the jungle, things got objectively far worse for their environment as time went on. So saying that like, oh look, we found some society in Siberia which had food scarcity, who were pastoralist or hunter gatherer or whatever, and that proves that like, well, these pastoralists, these hunter gatherers, they weren't very
So
well.
I'm not
adjusted to
saying
their
I don't
environment.
believe you, but what I
But-
am saying is that this is a topic that is very interesting to me. I am wondering, do you have any like academic papers on this topic that you could toss my way? I would appreciate it if you did, because I love reading papers on this very topic. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
If you do have any,
I'll look them up. There's
I'd love to see
there's a few. Oh boy, there's a few
just as
studies that
more of
came
an
out
aside.
back in like the 70s. The cross-cultural.
I know some
codes.
about this topic, but like not a whole ton. So
Yeah, I'll look. I forget the specific names for the citations. The main one I can think of is like scarcity ratings were coded by several anthropologists working with what's called the standard cross-cultural sample, which is 186 societies that are like considered to be the most well documented in anthropology. And what they found was that there was a great deal of differences by society, but generally speaking, the ones that were at a forager level would have had both a more constant food supply, and they would have had a more like better methods of food storage if they lived in colder climates which didn't have as constant food supply because of their low population. Again, low population density is really good for people, and high population density is generally not good for human flourishing. It leads to an abundance of pathogens which come about in the population, which is why up until very recently, up until modern sanitation, it was much worse to live in a city than in the countryside.
oh yeah.
And generally speaking, the human race seems to flourish the best if they're in a very low.
What do you mean by flourishing? Because aren't cities a prime example of human flourishing?
I'm
They are,
defining
but there are a lot of
flourishing more as like the extent to which ordinary human beings actually like benefit from living the best possible lives in terms of health, in terms of happiness, in terms of adjustment that they can. And if you get like a state, technically ancient Egypt, I guess, was flourishing in the sense it was a great civilization, but the 90% of the population who were slaves being forced to build the pyramids, they weren't really seeing the benefits of that flourishment of the pharaoh. So like that, to me, I would not consider that like a society like that is flourishing better than a place like North Sentinel Island, where everybody seems to be happy, healthy, well adjusted, and lives quite well for a supposedly primitive society.
Yeah, I think the better way to phrase this is that urbanized societies do suffer from problems that more rural societies do not. And even though, yes, we have, you know what?
I said I would grant that.
Yeah. And that even with the advancements of like modern medical technology, we still like haven't, I guess, reached a point where the downsides have been eliminated to enough of a degree. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but I do think that's what Jay is getting at.
Oh, by the way, my name is actually TCPS or Mike. The J thing is a joke. I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Dyer, the
Yeah, maybe change that for the thing.
I don't know who Jay Dyer is.
I'm afraid people are going to clip it and like try to use this for some
No.
Jay Dyer propaganda. Yeah, he's right. Let him.
Flo.
Hey, Flo's thing.
Oh, hey, his fuck! You can't do emojis on StreetYard. Hell, yeah.
Oh, it's you. I remember you. Okay, yeah. You're the one with the
Ooh,
Palestinian
Flo
flag.
stick. Let's see. I gotta get good.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't get the chance to say very often, but like the thing about communism and most of like, I think a lot of things that like even a lot of woke people, like for example, like just like the whole transsexual, like for example, transsexual surgeries and stuff like that. If we had the technology to make it where it was like an easy transition type thing, where they could actually have a surgery that would actually truly change their physiology and everything like that, where they'd be permanent, they really would be like a man could be a woman, and vice versa. I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with communism if we had lack of scarcity. I'd be fine with. I would actually be in support of those things. But what technologically speaking, we're not even close to those things, and that's where I find it to be. So I guess I find like that it'd be kind of unusual or weird to be in a position where you're like 100% supporting those things whenever like we're not even close to the technology, unless you feel like you need to be in that position in order to advance the technology.
But
It depends on what you mean by 100% support, because I will very clearly state that I do not, in any way, shape, or form, uncritically analyze or support any attempts at communism that have so far been tried. I don't uncritically supporting those things is foolish to the point of like stupidity. There are lessons that you can learn from those societies, but they're mostly not good. Mostly it's lessons from their mistakes.
So what's the advantage of calling yourself a communist then? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it seems like
it seems
anti-productive to even
in the same way that it was good, I think, for Bernie Sanders to call himself a democratic socialist.
See, I think it's the opposite. I think that
what did it help him do?
it was anti-good for him. I think that actually hurt him. I think
Bernie Sanders
it hurt becoming president if he hadn't called himself that.
No. It
and
definitely
maybe hurt him actually accomplish something.
It definitely hurt his personal political campaign for president. However, it is true that since 2016, since Bernie's run for president, and that sort of idea of a democratic socialist even running for the office of the president of the United States changed the zeitgeist around using that language.
Well, so which is interesting because I kind of feel the same way about some of the things I'm doing. So basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to like subtly shift the Overton window.
I mean, it's not even subtle. I will explicitly come out and say that is my goal. I want to shift the Overton window. I think with the Overton window is shifted, very lurched to the right, and I think shifting it left is good.
I mean, I think the Overton window has shifted nothing but left for the last several years. So I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't. See
I guess it is okay. You're. I guess this is true. I should clarify, and it's a lot more nuanced than that. In some ways, the Overton window has shifted left. In other cases, it's shifted very, very, very far right. We can.
I would say, in my own experience, it seems like with the people that are like younger than I am, the Gen Zs, it's just totally left on everything. Like I don't really see anything that Gen Z is conservative about.
It's not so much conservative. So like as a Gen Z person who has a lot of Gen Z friends, it's weird. Gen Z is broadly a lot more left-leaning than other generations. However, there's also a higher percentage of like very, very far right people. Like I know more Gen Z people who would be described as far right than like millennials or even like Gen X or boomers.
But the thing is that even the far right,
which I think has more to do with I guess radicalization. Gen Z is more radical than other generations.
You see, the weird thing is that, but even so many of the
because you grew up on the internet,
years are left wing on a lot of issues. So because you look at somebody like Nick Fuentes, for instance, he is basically a lot of his economic positions are very left wing.
I'm not. I guess you could describe them as that, maybe, but I wouldn't say that he is he's ideologically economically left wing. I think he just thinks that capitalism is Jewish, and he doesn't like it.
I don't think
that's why he doesn't like it.
Even care what his position is.
Wait, who are we talking about? I missed.
Nick Fuentes. TCPS.
Okay.
Isn't it easier to just move to a communist country than to change the American system of government from democracy to communism?
Well, there are.
Or move into a commune within this country. Communes can exist within a capitalist system, and there is no conflict. That's one of the things I don't understand. You can be a communist in a capitalist America, and it does not conflict.
Not throughout all of history. Let's remember that there have definitely been times.
Currently, who cares about the past in that particular stance? What does the past matter? It only matters the current state. In the current state, you can move into a commune in this country, and it will not it's not a big deal. You
Yeah,
can
but
do
it
that.
bothers
You
them.
can live in a
They want
communist
other people's
utopia that
money,
you're
and it
doing.
bothers them to see everybody suffer, like the losers suffer. So they're not going to be happy in a commune because they're not happy people anyway. They're going to find something to agonize and agitate about.
I mean, that's a little bit loaded, but I'll brush past it. The idea. So, for what it's worth, I have looked at communes here in the United States, and broadly, they're kind of a mixed bag. Some of them are good, some of them are really bad, some of them are meh. You know, I think that it's good that people are given that choice to participate in those kinds of systems, but that doesn't address the fundamental issue, which is capitalism, I guess. And God, this requires
That's
such a
right.
more extensive conversation than
Well, I'm
what
going to
we've
have
had.
to wrap up anyway.
Yeah, I know. I enjoyed
So
the conversation.
Family
you're definitely right there. Communism can't exist so long as capitalism exists, because capitalism is going to outcompete it, aka it's more appealing at the end of the day. It's really that simple. So the concept
It's
of
not that simple, and that's
it's easily that simple. All of the
It's that
communist
simple.
countries that you never want to move to, I live in one, are slowly turning
Hang on.
capitalist.
Okay, there's no such thing as a communist country. Like, okay, there are countries that call themselves communist. However, the Democratic Republic of North Korea calls itself a democratic republic, and yet it is
right.
expressly not one.
So it really boils down.
and another
So
problem.
what it boils down to is it's not my flavor of communism.
Well, I mean, another problem is
I
that
mean,
one can make the opposite
yes.
argument too. Like one could argue, and a lot of these like right-wing conservative types will argue that the same thing is happening, that capitalist countries are all turning socialist or communist too. Like generally speaking, things sort of change over time, and it's not really, I think, all that helpful to just say like, oh well, the communism is being defeated by the forces of American capitalism, when the exact same point gets made the opposite way. Hey, look at all these capitalistic countries.
Yeah, also, Jeff, I'm not going to leave America because I don't just want my life to be better. I would like for broadly everyone's life to be better, but I live here. My family lives here. My friends live here. I want America to be better.
Well, do you like that it's a democracy? Like, is one of the reasons you like living here is because it's a democracy?
Yes.
So what is
I don't think
communism thing?
Democracy is necessary for democracy is necessary for communism.
So you don't like that it's a democracy?
No, see, I disagree with that. I think that the only way for communism to work without the technological advancement that we're talking about, that I talked about earlier, without that, the only way for communism to work is with some degree of fascistic type control.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
Yeah, he agrees. So he's an authoritarian anarch, just like that cat.
I'm not. I have not advocated for us doing a communist revolution today. Like that's, I guess I see the problem, right? Like, as you're trying to think.
I guess what we're asking is, what's the point of calling yourself a communist whenever you don't even see it as a realistic option right now?
For the same way as why, for instance, ANCAPs call themselves anarcho-capitalists, despite many of them understanding that you can't have capitalism without a state. They might claim that it's not, but
it seems easier to just advocate for like stronger social safety nets and stuff. If it's the people at the bottom that suffer from capitalism,
that is what I advocate for, and I guess
as a step toward communism, and not just.
Well, I mean,
I think if you want
a solution,
if you want to know what's going on, it's that you guys are a couple of Gen Xers who don't understand Gen Z meme irony culture.
Well, yes, yes, and I'm having a hard time finding the line where that irony ends and begins, because he copped to the irony itself, but then he also seems to be very sincere about it at the same time. Maybe it's like layers of meta.
No. It's not. Okay, there is. It is true that he does enjoy our layers of meta irony. However, it's less so about meta irony and more philosophically, okay, politically, philosophically, I am a communist. That is what I advocate for. That is, I think, the utopian ideal society that we should be working towards.
Can we trust you to defend American democracy, or do we have to worry about you trying to subvert it?
Not,
the rest of
not,
us.
no, not even in its current state, which I would argue that in its current state it's not great. I still think that American democracy is better than
So we can count.
basically all. Yeah, no, I agree. Basically all the current alternatives to American democracy in America right now are worse than American democracy.
Well, the guacamole is ready, so that means I have to go.
Oh, guacamole! Enjoy that.
It's good. Too. She makes it good.
Okay,
We'll be here tomorrow. I can do the normal time, 2 p.m. Central.
that's the best. That's the best possible best possible reason end of stream I've ever heard was the guacamole is ready. I must go. I think that
Holy guacamole!
And I hope all of you
can argue with that.
to enjoy something as good yourselves.
I wish
You'll
I
be
could.
welcome.
I wish I could be there to have some. All right. Well,
Guacamole
you have a
for
great
all.
day, Jeff.
Open some guacamole kitchens.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. Take care, everyone, and see you.
Take care.
All right, see ya.
Have a good night. Good night.